I have a couple questions for you regarding personal injury and workers' comp. I think it's called a crossover, or I think that's just a name for it, right?
That's the situation where it's both let's say an individual who was working, got injured at work, but the at-fault party is someone else, like the third party. And so it could be like a car accident,
All right, welcome everybody to the D4A Personal Injury Show. I'm your host, Jean-Paul Anderson, and I'm sitting here with Nicole, our co-host, and we have a special guest for you guys.
Yes, we want to welcome you. This is Tina Arshakyan with Arshakyan Law Firm. It's located in Encino, and we're super excited to have you on.
Excited to be here. Hi, everyone.
Thank you for coming, Tina. This is great. So today we're just going to ask a few questions. Hopefully you can help our audience figure some of the stuff out. Personal injury is very complicated. There's a lot of moving parts, and each case is unique. Is that correct?
Each case, each client, each situation.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. I was reading your bio, and you're a very interesting person. Did you finish school early and graduate?
Yeah, so it started in high school. I think it was about 10th grade or so. I was like, I'm done. I'm graduating next year. Everyone's like, what do you mean? I started taking college classes that summer between 10th and 11th. I went to was taking college classes from maybe 8:30 to 8 p.m. I had enough credits, so junior year came about, and I had enough to actually cover for my junior year in high school. So we went out, I switched over to a senior homeroom, graduated junior year, and then I had enough credits at that time to qualify as being a sophomore instead of a freshman in college. So
that's awesome.
It was 19 when I was 19 when I got my acceptance for law school.
Very cool.
Wow.
Was there anybody who was mentoring you at the time, or anybody that you looked up to?
Honestly, it was just kind of I felt it was
the right thing.
It was the maturity level. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I agree. High school is. So what age were you exactly when you graduated high school then? Because
I had just turned 17.
Wow,
that's awesome. So you pretty much just got your driver's license too. So literally you get your driver's license and then you graduate high school.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Everyone's like, well, you missed out on high school years. No. It was pretty fun. You still got to do all the senior activities, and I got 2 proms to go to. They called me back for all the senior activities for my initial class, so I got to do all of it 2 times.
So how do you juggle, because you're a mom of 2, and you have your own law firm, and you have an amazing husband who we love, Art. How do you juggle life with your children and the law firm and everything?
I get that question a lot, and I mean, not going to lie, it's not always easy. It takes a lot of awareness, and there are times where I have to walk away and pep talk myself.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I have to say that really works is compartmentalizing work and time with kids. You have to understand that work's not going to end,
right?
But you're also not going to get that time at that age with the kids,
right?
And they need you. So I mean, I got this advice from another working mom a few years back, and I share the same thing with anyone that asks me. When I get home, I turn off that phone or I put it aside, and it's just time for them.
For the kids, yeah.
Kick off your heels,
Family.
and I'm going to run around and chase them around the house, or we're going to, talk about what they did that day, or, make it as fun and as memorable as possible so they forget that you weren't home.
Right.
At least the time that they have with you is just meaningful.
Absolutely.
So that's the one thing that helps me.
Yeah. And so when you prepare for trial, how do you do that? How do you manage your time with your family? Is there do you set time aside to prepare for trial?
Time management. Again, it goes back to compartmentalizing, because if I don't do that when I'm trying to, look at an email or prep something or review something and at the same time be with the kids, you're already tense. They do one thing and you get upset when it's really that,
how it is.
they didn't mean it. There's no intent there. And so I try to really keep it separate.
Yeah.
And otherwise
Yeah, absolutely.
Your tensions run wild.
Of course, of course. And how long have you owned your own law office?
As soon as I got my bar results in November of 2013, I incorporated in December of that year. And so January 2014, it started off. So it's been some time now.
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
That's great. Yeah,
Must
congrats.
be amazing to be a female and owning your own law firm. There's so many males in the industry, and it's nice to it's refreshing to have females in the industry.
No, yeah, absolutely. It always is.
30 years
big
ago, it was like
increase?
all men.
There definitely is a big
Yes.
increase. Yeah.
So, very good.
And I've seen groups of female attorneys
Female trial attorneys.
who they share their knowledge and everything. So it's cool.
Our community is really helpful, so it's just connections and helping each other, whether...
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Has there ever been a point where you've gotten a case or there's been an incident with an accident that you're representing and it made you kind of second guess of being in law? Like scarring for you? Because I've heard other stories from other attorneys. They've had cases where it's like they've questioned on having children because of an accident that happened, or questioning even just to continue practicing law because it scarred them so badly.
I don't know if it was a particular situation, but I think in general, you become a little bit more hyper cautious, so to say.
Yeah.
Even with my little boy running around, be careful, don't hit your head. Like,
Right.
we don't want any TBIs. We
Right.
don't want,
Right.
and so you are a little bit more cautious, and you start analyzing things a little bit more than you should. But yeah, again, it goes back to being aware and letting it go. Otherwise,
Yeah.
when you can't, you blur the lines, it makes it difficult to handle situations.
Got it. And would you hope for your children someday to be lawyers as well?
It's up to them if they like it. I can't. I've learned to not just let them,
Let them
choose their
decide.
path if they feel it, and by all means, I wouldn't, sway them away from it.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
see what
no,
their
that's
likes
exciting.
and
By the way, her children are so cute, especially Ashton. Oh my gosh. Cutest little boy on the
Thank
planet.
you.
So tell me a little bit about, how do you build, when you get a new client, like how do you build rapport with them? Like what are some of the strategies that you do with your practice in order to, keep clients or customers happy? And just tell me a little bit about that. Yeah.
I'm all about finding out about the client. The client story, I would say, is probably one of the top priorities, because understanding where this client came from, what they're dealing with, are they a single mother? Are they the sole breadwinner of the household? Where they're wanting to go with the case? How, is it someone I can take to trial? Is it, or do they have the finances to be able to, move forward with the case for a long period of time? Once you find out about the client and their story, it gives you a better understanding of how to move forth with the case. And I always say this, each case is very different because of the clients, because of their stories, because of there's so many moving parts. So you have to understand who your client is, what are their needs, how it affected them, what are commonalities between the client and even opposing counsel, and so when you understand the situation at a deeper level, it allows you to connect with juries even better, because you are telling a story at the end of the day.
Right.
Okay.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right, welcome back. So I have a couple questions for you regarding personal injury and workers' comp. I think it's called a crossover, or I think that's just a name for it, right?
Well, they're kind of crossover cases. That's the situation where it's both let's say an individual who was working, got injured at work, but the at-fault party is someone else, like the third party. And so it could be like a car accident. You're driving you're driving a truck, and all of a sudden now you get rear-ended or you get into an accident with a third party. So now that's both a workers' comp case as well as a personal injury case. And so we usually say they're crossover cases. The main difference, of course, is, there's a lot of differences with the workers' comp system and personal injury, but the biggest difference is one, workers' comp is a no-fault system. Wherever personal injury, we have to be able to show negligence. But when you are able to prove negligence and there is a third party that's responsible, you are able to also collect pain and suffering. Whereas in workers' comp, there is no pain and suffering. And I handle both workers' comp cases and personal injury cases. And I think the benefit of that is when you understand both systems, you can allow it to work for you. Because the workers' compensation system, when sometimes you're stuck within it, whether you're dealing with denials, you're dealing with having to go through UR, not everything's being approved, and treatment can get halted. Whereas in personal injury, we don't really deal with that as much because there is a little, the client has more options as to seeing different doctors and getting treatment on a lien basis. And sometimes when you're stuck with just a workers' comp system and you're going through, seeing the workers' comp QMEs and not getting the best report, it could really affect the personal injury case because those reports can't, be admissible in the personal injury end. So if you understand the importance of the comp case and how it's going to affect the PI case, you could actually use those to work together rather than be adverse to each other. When working up a personal injury case and a workers' comp case, you have to balance it. Some treatment, if I can't get through comp, and there's a third-party case, then you could be able to, on a lien, send them and have them be seen by another doctor. So at that time, at least the client will be getting all the treatment that they need. While if there's a comp case, at least while they're off of work, they get paid through the comp system. So it's also knowing when to close the workers' comp case as well, because if already it's starting to be adverse, where now they're doing a lot of sub rosa, they're sending over, the QME is really not favorable to your client, and you keep that going, it's going to really hurt you on the personal injury case. We just had 2 really large settlements, and they were both crossovers. Mm-hmm. So it's being able to handle both cases at the same time and allowing them to work with each other rather than work against each other.
How long do these cases normally go for?
Depending on the case, of course, you can have a case closes from 6 months to a year, but then there are cases, one of the recent cases we litigated for about 4.5 years.
Wow, that's a long time. I'm pretty sure you got very close with this client.
Is it with all your clients? Do you get close with all your clients like that?
Majority of them, again, some more than others, and depending on, especially if it's a litigation client, you're very much involved with them. It's on a text basis. My clients will, text me even before going to a doctor. Hey, I'm a little afraid, or what's going on, or I'm in pain. This is what's bothering me. Even again, a quick pep talk with them allows them to feel comfortable with you, and if they're comfortable with you, I always tell my clients, we're a team. We're working together. We have to. I need to know what's going on with you. It goes back to knowing your story and how you're feeling, how it's impacting you, because it allows me to be able to represent you better. It allows me to tell your story better, and ultimately, that's what it comes down to.
Got it. This is really good too, because a lot of times you'll have someone that's with a law firm and they rarely speak to a lawyer, especially if someone's scared going into surgery, and they can text you like, "Hey, I'm super scared. What do I do?" That's very nice and convenient for them. Yeah, because there's a lot of law firms that you don't talk to the attorney. You don't talk to the attorney until you
are in litigation.
In litigation or go to trial, and that's the first time you actually see them.
Right. You can ask to speak to the attorney, but chances are you'll speak to them once for maybe 20-30 minutes, and then you won't talk to them again because you'll be talking to a case manager.
Yeah, and again, it does happen, especially, when you do have a lot of cases you're handling and you're not always available. But I always tell my clients, anytime you need to speak with me, you let the office know. We'll set a time. So even if it's, twice a week, but you still need to speak with me even for 10 minutes or so, we'll make it happen. Just, ask the case manager and say, hey, I'd like to speak to Tina, and we'll set a time and we can go over what you need.
So I'm guessing the way you are with your clients, I'm pretty sure you get referrals from word of mouth then. That's
our main source of, we didn't do too much marketing. A lot of times it's referrals. When you create such good rapport with your clients, they're loyal. They'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
That's
very nice to know, especially if you want to speak to your lawyer as much as possible, then
it's always good to ask questions.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to talk about some personal. I hear You love cooking. You're a painter, traveling. Tell me about this painting. When do you get the time to paint?
Yeah, how
Especially
did you
with
get involved
children.
in
And
that?
I want to kind of know what you paint. It's very interesting.
I've always loved the arts. I actually thought when I was younger I'd probably go into architecture, interior design. Didn't end up doing that, but on my personal time, I do love, even if it's just a sketch doodling. Kids go to sleep sometimes, just grab a glass of wine and kind of put on some music and kind of get lost. Just a good way to decompress.
So are you really good at sketching like interiors then? Or are you more like outdoor, painting flowers? What specifically do you like?
Honestly, it depends. I think when I was younger, it was more doing interiors, and now it's just kind of
Whatever comes to your mind.
whatever comes my way, and it's just like free flowing and anything really. So I would say it's more nature.
So do you have a wall in your house covered with all your artwork?
No, I don't.
The garage maybe?
No, they're all actually hidden. I have a few paintings for the kids that I have in their playroom, but aside from that, it's just kind of more of a hobby.
More of a hobby.
Yeah.
And this cooking, I hear, actually, I know that you are an amazing chef. I'm not going to say I heard. I've actually physically tried it. Did someone in your family cook, or what made you?
Well, my mom's always cooked, but for me, again, this was before having kids, before law. It's just something that I loved to do. Even when I scroll down to my Instagram from when it first started, this is before there was even bloggers. You'll see it's like food posts, and so that's kind of, I just did it for fun. Now I'll be honest with you, I don't cook as much as I should. There's just not enough time. And when you're trying to do something in the kitchen and you have two toddlers sticking their hands and wanting to participate, it's fun, but you don't get it done in time, right? So Sundays maybe we'll just do like a family meal where I'll cook more, some more comfort food, or we'll try something new. But unfortunately, cooking is not done as often as it should be.
No, same here. Cooking is very hard with children, and I am not the greatest cook.
You're not so bad.
I try.
You can't say that.
I try. I'm good at
You
grilling.
have to.
I can make a full meal on a grill, but cooking in general, like little, no, I can't do it.
Patience.
So traveling, you love to travel, I hear.
Oh, I love
What's your
traveling.
favorite place that you've traveled?
Oh my God, that's like asking which one's your favorite kid.
Okay, since you have two kids, what's your two top favorite places? We'll just pick two.
I can't. I don't have favorites because each place has its own uniqueness that it brings. It's a good bad adventure. It's just an adventure. But I will have to say it serves like three purposes for me. For me, it's just one, I get to have some me time. I get to be more present. And you break away from your daily routine. So out of your norm, and then it goes into you get to experience something different. That's that you don't do all the time, whether it's, going to, port tasting in Oporto, or, hopping on the subway and going and having a deep dish in Chicago, or, in going and watching the Yankees and the Sox battle out in Fenway, and just singing with the you're singing with the Bostonians, and it's just, you're just in the moment in a different culture. And then, the history of it. I've always loved reading. And so when you get to travel, you get to actually experience it. So, you go out going to the Palace of Versailles, and I could just imagine Marie Antoinette and everyone else walking around those hallways, and then looking at the gates of the revolution that happened right at the gates, and then getting the chills as you walk through Anne Frank's house and in Amsterdam. It's just, there's such a big world out there, and it's nice. You get caught up in your everyday, but you forget the history and the different cultures, and the different socioeconomic levels, even in different countries, and their values. And so it's nice to kind of transport yourself in a different place,
So do you have a little notebook with a bucket list of places you want to go, or is it just mentally stored?
Somewhere I do have
Somewhere, yeah.
somewhere I do have it, but it's more mental. It's kind of, and especially with life happens, with COVID happened, a lot of
Oh, my
travel
God,
was
yeah,
halted, and with the kids, it's shorter. So we will, my husband and I will now do more. We'll go to different states now.
So
That's cool.
So between the two, do you have more passport stamping or more U.S. travel?
She's looking for a travel buddy, I think. She's trying to figure the travel
This one
buddy.
doesn't take me anywhere.
I think recently it's been more U.S.
More U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
But the beauty of when you go out to Europe, you get to travel so many different
Oh,
places
right.
in
You get
one
to-
trip.
yep.
So
I always
you get to
tell
hop to different.
I always tell JP, like, the most expensive thing is the flight there.
The
But then
initial
once
one.
you're there, if you go to like the little local bakeries for like 25 cents, you get a loaf of bread, and
Yeah.
it's like
It's fun.
once you're there, it's so much less. And the problem is when people travel, they always want to stay in like the center of somewhere, which is the most expensive. But when you go on like the outskirts where the locals are, it's so much more fun.
It's a different feel. It's just like even
Yeah.
You get home and
running
you
into-
realize how much things you don't need. Like when you live out of
Right,
a
more
suitcase
of the
for so many
minimalist.
weeks or so many months, you get
Yeah.
home and you're like throw away stuff because you're like, do I really need this? Like everybody's
Right.
very simple.
I wish I could say I travel light though.
It's hard for
Wait,
girls to
neither do
travel
we.
light.
So you're
Our
not alone.
hairsprays are like this big. Come on, that takes up like half our bag. It shouldn't even count.
But it's just it's a nice experience.
I'm really happy you came. I'm glad we got the honor to have you here and to ask you all these good and crazy questions. I'm sure.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you would give students that are becoming lawyers or attorneys? Advice that you would give them to help them push themselves through school or through college?
Stay focused. At that time, it seems like a very long time. You're like 3 years. I got to do this. Time flies. Stay focused. Intern as much as you can. Get out there. Make connections. Talk to people. See what area you like to do. Want to practice in, and just be open. Don't close the door. You don't know what opportunity awaits. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And of course, make sure that you guys like, share, and subscribe. And also, what is the best way to contact you?
Well, you can definitely find us on Instagram. We're there at Arshakyan Law. And we have our Spanish page, En Tu Esquina. And you can find us there. You can send us a message there, DM us, and or you're welcome to shoot over to my personal page and send me a message there at Tina Arshak.
Perfect. There you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed the show.
Thank you so much for watching. Thanks again, Tina, for coming out to our show. And don't forget to like, share, and follow our page.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.